5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Old School, New School podcast. I am Will Charles Egan, and as always, we have Chris Meekins here with us.
Hello.
Welcome back, our regular listeners or viewers, wherever you are, whenever and wherever you are consuming this podcast. Thank you so much for doing so, and we ask politely that you would leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little notification bell if you're on YouTube so that you can be notified anytime that there is a new episode of the podcast.
Yay.
Yippee. How's your week?
What do you think of my cup? Come on, this is old school, new school.
This is very much you never fail to continually date yourself when I see these things of yours.
This is like ultra modern. The Guggenheim.
The what?
The Guggenheim. It's in New York City. It's an art museum because I got a lot of culture.
Right. You're making it sound like this is a thing that I just know.
But you would think everybody's heard of it. It was in a Seinfeld episode. So, if that's the only reason I know about it. But then we went to New York with my son that was thinking about planning a church in New York City, and we went to the Guggenheim. And the building looks like this.
It's got a spiral on it?
Yeah, and it goes up. It's really, and then you walk along this. Look at all this art.
That's actually kind of cool.
Kind of an amazing thing.
I've never been to New York
City. I don't
City,
need to
though.
go back.
No, I have zero desire to live or go to New York City for more than like a week. I'm not a city guy at all, in fact. There's too many rats, too many bugs.
Bugs. Speaking of which.
See how I did that?
We were going to talk about.
We wanted to talk a little bit about cleaning the bugs out of the house. And now you're listening to that and you're like, this is not a home improvement podcast.
No.
What in God's name am I listening to? We meant that metaphorically. So some people, whether it is in a friendship with another person, whether it's in a relationship, your marriage, or whether it's your own personal living space, literally, it is very important to keep the bugs out of the house.
There's something you learn when you're 21 and you live in your own place with another guy.
Uh-huh. Yes, especially when it's with another guy.
Yes, that's not a cleanie.
He's not as clean as I am. He leaves, there's been towels sitting over one of the empty dining room chairs for, over a week now. My first apartment, the sink was just filled with beer cans. Yes.
And
beer
dishes.
Cans in your sink?
Well, where else are you going to put them? The garbage can was full. There was
no
place
else. Right, yeah, so put them in the sink.
It was so gross. And then we ended up, anyway, okay. But we had to hire a cleaning girl.
For real?
Yeah,
you couldn't muscle up to do it yourself.
And then I had to get married to the most clean person in the universe.
And now look at your house.
It's insane. Yeah.
Well, you seem to have worked it out pretty fine.
Yeah. Well, as long as she doesn't hit me really hard.
Right.
So anyway, we were talking about the analogy from your spiritual side of having little bugs or what the Bible talks about, little foxes that eat away. What's that? How's that verse go?
Yeah, so there's a verse here in Song of Songs, believe it or not. Not a lot of preaching happens out of this book of the Bible.
No.
If you're not familiar with Song of Songs, it is a poem in the Bible. It's one of many, kind of like the Proverbs or Psalms you've probably heard of. And it is all about love. Wow. And
marriage.
Yeah, marriage.
We're here for marriage.
Right. Only marriage.
You know what that one's from?
I have no idea what that's from. What's it from, Chris?
Tell me. Movie.
What movie? Tell me.
The Princess Bride.
Oh, okay. I actually have never watched that. I should watch that movie. Again, I'm uncultured. Everybody's watched that.
The Princess Bride.
I really should watch that movie.
That's like a once-a-year movie.
Yeah, I know. Never got around to it.
So anyway.
So Song of Songs, it's all about love, and there's not a lot of preaching happening out of this apart from marriage counseling classes. But there's one little verse, and it is in Song of Songs, chapter 2, verses 15, I guess just verse 15 really, because this is where the real meat of it is. It says, "Catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that run in the vineyards, our vineyards that are in bloom." Okay, so just a little preface beforehand. Verse 14, it says, "My dove in the clefts of the rock, in the hiding places on the mountainside. Show me your face, let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet and your face is lovely." So she is talking about her lover, and she is saying to this man whoever he is, it's believed that he was like a shepherd or something like that. Catch for us the little foxes that run in our vineyards that are in bloom. So why would she tell her man this? Well, it could literally mean we have a garden in the backyard and there's foxes running around eating all the grapes and tearing apart the garden. Get out there and take care of the problem. Or it could mean
bow and arrow.
Yeah, probably bow and arrow. I don't think they had shotguns back in the Old Testament. Probably not. But they were more than likely, specifically speaking, in metaphor, where it's like, hey, all of the little nagging problems in our relationship, we gotta kill those. We gotta completely get rid of those. Because if you don't address the little small things, because it's like, it's a fox, it's one, it'll eat a couple grapes and it'll be fine. But the fox keeps coming back, and the fox brings friends. Now you've got coyotes in the back garden too. The whole garden's going to be destroyed. And then you got to sell the house because the coyotes and foxes have worked their way into the home and are now squatters in your house.
Or the cockroaches.
Or the cockroaches or the flies.
I sold a house at one time that these people let cockroaches get in. I don't know. I don't know how you do that, but it was infested. And I couldn't even get anybody to come take the furniture they left behind out. Then I had to pay someone a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it infested the house and it ruined the house.
Yep, exactly.
And I think that's the same thing. There's that other verse in the New Testament talks about when you clean house. So we'll just say that you're saying, okay, God, I want to change these things. I want to get rid of these bad habits or something like that.
Yeah.
So it says when they clean the house. Do you know how that verse goes? I'm trying to pull it out.
Which verse?
Where you clean out the house, and if you don't replace it with something,
yes,
7 demons, even worse, will come in.
Cast out one spirit, and if you don't replace it, 7 even worse spirits will come back.
So I was talking to this guy this week, and we were talking about he doesn't go to like AA meetings. He quit drinking, but he goes to like a men's group on Monday, another group on Tuesday. Which that's what really AA does. Is it's like you need to replace your drinking time with something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you get used to, you have to replace it with other things.
Fellowship.
Otherwise, if you don't do it, it's just there's an empty space, and then you never know what's going to show up in the empty space. And that's a spiritual thing. I think of a verse. So for me, like there's a verse, Luke 6:45, that I've referred to many times. The good man brings forth good out of the good stored up in his heart, and the evil man brings forth evil out of the evil stored up in his heart. For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so I'm like, well, I got all this garbage in my like my mouth is swearing. I do this and how do you change it? And it's like you have to replace it with something.
Right.
You have to clean house. Because if your heart's bad, and so let's go down that path. If your heart's bad, you go, well, how do I fix my heart? How do I change the way I think? Because I don't like all these little thinking problems of, and it could be, about women. It could be like I'm superior to women or I'm superior to men, which would be the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
That's so backwards.
That's so messed up.
Clearly, they got it all wrong.
But how do you get rid of those little bugs in your life? How do you get rid of them? Because they're like, it's not like it's a problem. This morning, straight up. This morning, I was like having a bad morning, so I'm doing my walk and stop at the gym, exercise, and I went back to this thought that I'm the problem. My whole life, I've always heard, "You're the problem."
Yep.
You're the problem. You're the problem at the fire station. Yeah, you're a problem. In my marriage, you're the problem.
You are the problem.
And so all of a sudden it showed up. And you're like, you've got these bad little
nagging
cockroaches
little things
that are in my head. And I'm like, this is no good. So what does the Bible say to do? How do you get out of that? How do you get rid of those thoughts?
Yeah. This morning, the verse of the day was pray without ceasing, which is really cool. I have my little devotional time that I do where you listen to your fun ambient music and you read the Bible, and it was always talking about, the past couple of days have been like rejoice always or pray without ceasing, something like that. So with with the analogy of like getting rid of bugs in the house, the first thing you got to do is you got to attack the inside of the house first.
Okay.
You got to get the bad out. That's the first step. So how do you go about doing that? Well, men's group. That was a fantastic example. I'm glad you brought that up. Fellowship with other people, where it says all throughout the New Testament, you confess your sins to one another, right?
Okay.
If you are honest, if you bring the truth,
you don't have to go to a meeting and stand up. My name's
Right.
Will Egan,
Hi,
and
Will
I'm a
Egan.
sinner.
Right? Yeah. My name's Will Egan, and I'm
And
a
I
sinner.
stole a candy bar from
I
work
will.
yesterday, and I'm going to go to hell for it.
Right. Yeah. It's not like Catholic, the confession booth.
Right.
It's basically, if you bring the light to a problem, the problem will scatter. Like, if you shine a flashlight on a bunch of bugs, the bugs are going to
Cockroaches.
scatter. Cockroaches will scatter.
Tell me that's not what you did at your
No,
house.
I didn't just
Okay.
go away. No, we threw the little poison tablets under the oven and under the fridge and stuff. You got to attack the problem in the house. What does that mean? It means shine a light on it. Tell the truth. Always tell the truth. You got to confess your sins to one another. If you are regularly in communion with other Christian people, you'll see how it is that they live their life, and you will want to naturally reflect that, because you'll see the good fruits that bear from being rooted in God. You will see what it looks like to cast out the bugs. You got to read your Bible. The simple stuff that I always say. You got to read your Bible. You got to go to church. You got to pray. And you got to work on some of those little behaviors that people will call up, or the things that just naturally get called up. Hey, your problem is anger issues. That's the two of us. We have an episode on that called Two Angry Men. Or you have a lust issue, or you have a greed issue, or you are, like myself, you're too stingy. You aren't giving enough. You aren't serving enough. Obviously, you can go down that path of you're not doing enough, but you have to be a giver to some degree. Whatever that looks like, you be around those Christian people, and you'll either get it called up very just explicitly, or you will see it in their behaviors and want to do something about it. So you got to cast out the bugs. And then what happens after you cast out the bugs? Well, you got to call pest control so that the bugs don't come back in.
Yeah.
And that is every single month or every week, or however big your house is or whatever. That is a regular process. You can't just have the bug guy come out once, spray the stuff, do the sweep, and then never come back, because the bugs are going to get back in. You got to keep doing it. And then problem solved, right?
Well, I hope so.
I'd hope so.
So so let's talk about, okay, we got the bugs. We got the bug spray.
Mm-hmm.
Got them sprayed out. What do you do on a daily basis for maintenance? What's a maintenance?
Yeah, recently I changed something, because I would do my devotional every night before bed.
Okay.
And that was just it was natural for me. I would journal, or I'd read my Bible, and then I would journal, and then I'd crash. But I wasn't putting my all into it, because it was, 30 minutes before I wanted to fall asleep. Right. So I'm like, what did I just read? I don't even remember. And then I would journal, and then it would all just kind of, and then I wanted to just go to sleep. And I hear everybody talk about, my morning devotional, my quiet time in the morning, and you read literally every single devotional book, and it talks about this morning, and here I am at 12:30 at night, and I'm like, technically it is morning, but not that kind of morning. Right. I'm about to go to bed. And so I was like, okay, maybe
it's almost like the first fruits.
Exactly.
It's like the first fruits of your day.
That was kind of something that I figured made more sense, was to start the day with a devotional. So, and I've noticed a lot of spiritual growth and things happening in my life for my betterment, because of starting to do things in the morning, starting with God, where you go outside in the backyard and just be like, God, use me today. And then you go inside, you read the devotional, you do a little morning prayer, and you give the first bit of your time to God, and he will bless the rest. And that's one of the small ways that you can, keep the bugs.
That's I think that's step one.
That's
honestly.
step one.
That's like step one. I do the same thing. I get up in the morning. I changed my routine. I was listening to the Bible in a year, and then writing on a letter to God.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that takes like about an hour.
Yeah.
So just recently, in the last month or so, I hurt I got this thing called sciatica. You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It
that
hurts.
sucks. Yeah.
It hurts. Never before. When I stand up from here, it's going to be a painful process.
Yes.
Sitting
tough.
doesn't hurt. Standing doesn't hurt. It's in between there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so I've been walking. So I get up in the morning, and I really don't have anywhere to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I get up probably 6:30.
I don't have anything to do, so I figured I'd just
so
be
I'll get
up.
up at 6:30. So I get up at 6:30, and I start. I go for a walk, starting at like sunrise. I try to do.
Nice.
So I walk up to the gym, the LA Fitness, which is like a quarter of a mile,
Mm-hmm.
and then I walk in there. I do and I do. Well, the routine is I walk there, do the Roman chair, then walk around this other big block, and it takes around 40 minutes total.
Okay.
To do that.
You walk to the gym.
I do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because
So-
I know exactly where it is.
So then I send, but I bring these verses. So I quit doing the New Testament because I'm like, I'm listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is like
You what?
not of
Blasphemy.
This is not of the Law Church. This is Chris
Right.
Meekin's rules.
Yeah.
But I started memorizing Romans 6 again, which I know it, but I got like a couple verses in. I'm like, this is not where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've got it. I think I mentioned this last week, right?
Yep.
No. And
Yeah.
so I'm doing Ephesians. And so I'm up to Ephesians. Today I was at 13. So I'm
Nice.
memorizing it verse for verse because it's about your new life. It's about who you are. God chose you before the beginning of before He made the world.
Yes,
He
okay.
chose you, and He's adopted you into His family. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm like I'm like in this like little crisis of things, and so finding something where I'm gonna use the word park in, and then I've mentioned over the last couple of weeks, I feel like I'm in this spiritual battle. It's like I'm fighting this battle. So I got Ephesians 6:10 out. Finally, be strong in the Lord, and those are the things that are like, okay, it's almost like an exterminator.
Yeah. There you go.
Reminding me, and then all for the rest of the day. So I do Ephesians 6, and then I do 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter. And because I'm not a very loving God. so I have to remember what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind.
Right. You're like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's right. Those. Oh, maybe I should demonstrate this. And then I do. There's a bunch more, and I have all these memorized. Like, wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you. I'm like, okay, honor God during the day.
Yeah.
And it's in your head. And so during the day,
Right.
you'll go, this is kind of like a spiritual battle. And I need to dig in and know that I'm not fighting against Will here.
Right.
Will just got some bad juju.
Got some cockroaches in my brain.
He's got some cockroaches on the bottom of his eggs from the bottom of his shoes from walking around in his house.
I've got I'm listening to the bad angel on the wrong shoulder.
Yes. Yeah. So but you are empowered. And it's in your head.
Yeah.
Rather than you're a loser, you're the problem, you're this, you're that, the other thing. And you're like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I'm not. Now, there's the other end of people who are like, oh, I'm amazing.
Right.
You know, it's
Yeah. We get a lot of that.
maybe you're not. One of my favorite is the 1 Corinthians 1:27. But God chose the foolish things of this world to shame the wise.
Yeah.
He chose the weak things to shame the wise.
Yes.
I'm like, wait a minute, he's talking about me. He
Yes.
chose the weak things to shame the strong. He showed the lowly, the despised, and the things that are not to nullify the things that are.
Yeah.
It is because of him that you are in Christ Jesus. And so I'm like, oh, wait a minute. He uses people like me.
Yeah.
And I have to remember that I've got the power to get rid of the little bugs,
The little nagging things.
in my life.
Heck yeah. Why do you think he chose us two to have this podcast? Thank
Go
God.
figure.
He uses the foolish things of the world. The two of us.
Well, I could probably listen to them because I don't really feel bad about myself.
Exactly.
I'm trying to listen to
Yeah,
them.
that's the idea. Because sometimes you listen to those podcasts where it's like super nicely edited
Oh my gosh.
and it's super authentic, or it feels
And
inauthentic.
they're like super smart people.
Oh yeah, and they're like, well, I was listening to Dr. Jefferson Horton, a PhD, and he was saying in his published study, you're like, how did you even find that one?
Yeah. Or when people start talking about mental health, they're talking about
Yeah.
things that you're like, I kind of understand what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
But if I had to explain it,
That's not how I would word it.
that's not how it's.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear, go
Go
have a quiet time.
Yeah, that'll solve your problems, I guess. Yeah, because sometimes it's intimidating too. You hear all those things, you feel like you're getting called out.
Yeah.
But the idea is to have just two people talking to other people.
Well, the other thing is that when you go back to the getting the little
Mm-hmm.
foxes that are eating all the fruit in your vineyard, it's why you have church life. It's why you have you listen to a message on Sunday. It's not about attending church,
Right.
that you're going to live happily ever after,
Right, yeah.
in heaven. We lived happily
Right.
ever after,
And all
went
of
to-
my problems were gone.
I walked in. But you learn, you go there because you hear things like this last couple weeks. I don't know what's going on at our church,
Mm-hmm.
but they have been rocking it.
Oh, yeah. Even at the collective, the young adults thing, the last one Bernard spoke at, I was like,
Rocking it.
yeah.
I mean, this last Sunday, pastor was talking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like good stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does he know what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And so you go home and you're like, oh, that was interesting. I couldn't tell you what it was right now.
I felt
But
it, though.
But it was
The
amazing.
foolish things of the world. There you go.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But it impacts you so
Mhm.
that you can. The Holy Spirit brings it to mind,
Yes.
all week
Absolutely.
long.
Yeah.
And then you do your daily maintenance. Oh, wait a minute! When you clean the sinks and you clean up after yourself,
Right?
you don't get bugs, right?
Yep. When you mop the floors, when you do the dishes, when you do the little regular things, and it requires daily small maintenance, because you let a week go by without any of that, and then you see, oh shoot, something scuttled under the oven, something's moving out of the corner of my eye. That was gross. There's a lot more flies in the air than I remember. I mean, I've bought the bug traps and the ant bait and things, and those pellets that you can just toss under furniture and stuff as little defenses, those regular defenses that you have put up in your mind, whether that be memorizing Bible verses or having somebody that you can call immediately or a group that you can go to regularly. You got to set up those small defenses, because sometimes even when the exterminator or when the exterminator goes around the perimeter of the house, sometimes you need to call them back in the house, because we're not perfect. Every once in a while, things are going to get in the house, and you need to have the defenses set up, and you got to invite the Spirit back into the brain always, every single day. Pray without ceasing.
Okay, so we're gonna take a left here.
Okay, we're taking the left. We're turning.
What about you
Mm-hmm.
just going ahead and cleaning up after someone else
Cleaning up
and
something
saying,
else.
oh, someone needs to take care of this?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. The problem with being young is like, somebody needs to clean up this kitchen or this
Yeah.
house or this area.
Yeah.
And
Someone's
then
gonna
you
do it.
go, well, what about me?
Yeah.
I didn't make the mess.
Right.
It's really part of being in relationships, whether
Yeah.
you're married or
right.
sharing an apartment or whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, and again, you learned about other people,
Mm-hmm.
and you learned, well, they're really not that strong. Like in my house,
Yep.
I always get accused of having a pile of stuff
dirty dishes.
around,
Yep. There's always something.
around my chair. She's like,
Oh, yes.
your pile's getting pretty big over there.
Your pile. Yep. Your things that are unaddressed.
And so it takes, how do you take action even though you're like, I didn't do anything wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's people that are like, well, this is how I was raised and I can't fix this,
Mhm.
like a mental issue or
Right,
you
yeah.
inherited your father's sin. So how do you get I don't even know what the right word is, the nerve or the
The
tenacity
wherewithal.
to get up and go, well, Lord, I'm just going to
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
do the work, even though
Even
I
though it
don't feel
wasn't you.
I don't feel it's my part.
Yeah, that was, I had that.
It's the hardest part about getting married, but go ahead.
Yes, well, that's self-sacrifice is what it all is. It's where you're taking a step back and you're going, I think solving the problem in the long run is greater than myself, so I'm going to sacrifice myself a little bit in this moment for the benefit of the thing that is bigger than myself in the future, right? It's delayed gratification. So you have a small problem, someone needs to do the laundry. Well, none of this is mine. I'm not doing the laundry. However, if that small thing goes unaddressed in the future, it will explode into something much bigger between you and the person that you love.
Or we'll talk laundry
Mm-hmm.
because we're so domesticated.
Right. Yeah. That's
Talk
what we
laundry.
know.
I'm not taking that guy's laundry out of the washer, especially if you live in an apartment building,
Right.
and putting it in the dryer because
Yeah.
it's not mine. Oh, in the meantime, I don't get to do my laundry.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm
Great
going
point.
back to my apartment. Oh, crap.
I'm not addressing my problem.
Tomorrow morning, I go to put on my underwear, and there's no clean underwear.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it requires doing something for somebody else first.
Yeah, it's called death to self.
Exactly. That's the carrying your cross every day.
And
Pick up your
so,
cross.
even though it seems like that's someone else's problem,
Mm-hmm.
and again, we'll just jokingly talk about the dishes, but
Right. Yeah.
even though those are not my dishes, it is having an effect on me.
Yeah.
And so, am I willing to die to self?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Wow, I'm blowing my mind right now.
You're coming to conclusions you didn't even know.
I
you
didn't
knew.
even know what was going to happen today.
Yeah.
It's like what Jesus did. He goes, those are not my sins,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to take them on myself
Yeah.
so that you
May live.
may live.
Ah.
I'm going to clean those dishes for you because I'm looking forward to not waking up with a cockroach on my eye.
Exactly. Yes. That is called being Christ-like. There you go. Chris figured out how to be Christ-like. It only took you how long to do it?
It's good thing. It's good thing we recorded it. We could give
Yeah,
back.
right. Yeah, we could be like, what did I say
What did
again?
I say? Because I think it was really good.
It's
Yeah.
just like the message. It was good, whatever it was that
Whatever
they said.
it was. But it goes to death to self,
Mhm.
and it as much as I mean, it's a lifestyle that you
Yeah.
have to develop,
Right.
and you have to develop it in a marriage, just sharing an apartment with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
going to work. It's like, well, this is really this guy's job,
Right.
but at the end of the day, you're the one that wins.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because you stepped up
Mm-hmm.
or you've decided, oh, wait a minute. And it's getting rid of all these little things in my life that are
Mhm.
bothering me because I got this resentment because
Yeah.
Joe Blow, okay, I'm going to do, I don't have to do dishes.
Mhm.
No, nobody said you have to. Oh,
Exactly.
Do you want to be free?
Then you probably should.
Then you can do the dishes.
Yeah.
Because you actually like doing the dishes.
Yes. Yeah, believe it or not, you like doing the dishes because you like not having bugs in your house.
But there's people that actually like doing dishes.
Oh, there
I'm
are
not
people
one
that
of
like
them.
doing that. No,
I'm
no.
not one of them.
I mean, I can. If I'm listening to music, it's bearable. Or if I'm listening to a podcast, I like cooking. I do not like doing dishes.
Do you like cooking?
I love cooking. It's fun. It's one of the things. It's one of the. It's one of the few things in life that I can enjoy in my day-to-day grind that I discovered I can actually do well.
And you're creating something?
Yeah.
Well, you're very creative.
Right. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm naturally a creative.
I mean, you make up crap all the time that
Oh.
comes out of your mouth.
Oh, I make up the wildest stuff. I surprise myself. Sometimes I go back in my write. I'm like, I wrote that.
That's
What
probably
was
why
I
you're a
thinking?"
writer.
Yes. Yeah. But I made stuffed peppers the other day. It was amazing. I like accidentally make these recipes. Like, what if I added like cooking vinegar and cilantro, and then it's chef's kiss. So I remade it the other day, and it's incredible. I had some for breakfast.
I've tried that myself. I'll get like some hamburger, and I'm like, okay, put some hamburger in there. I'm like, well,
Now
I
what?
love Red Hot, so I'll pour some Red Hot
Yeah.
in there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what else is in there? Oh, there's some chicken. That would like give it a thing. and Joyce, she'd come home from work, and she's like, what is this?
What is this?
I'm
slop?
like, this is how I like it all blended together. She goes,
Ugh.
it's mush.
It's mush.
And there's no taste to anything.
No.
And I'm like, but it's hot.
It's good.
It's hot, man.
Mhm.
You know you got done eating that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I
But
added
there's people that do that, and it comes out amazing.
and they're good at it. They're
Yeah.
naturally good at
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Like I added a Mexican hot sauce to it. It's very vinegar forward. Oh man, so amazing. But anyways, yeah. The whole point of doing the dishes is it's the delayed gratification of being Christ-like and kind of dying to self, like you said. It's really that is the exact image of carrying your cross daily. It's like, well, you hear that, but what does that even mean, right? You say, pick up your cross. It's like, okay, how? Well, you got to die to self in little things. You got to serve others. You got to sacrifice a little bit of yourself now for the benefit of others and for yourself in the future, right? I mean, that's the whole message of like marriage counseling is it's not about yourself. You got to put the institution of the marriage above yourself because that's what's priority here, right?
And they also call it servant leadership.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it's like, well, wait a minute. I own this place. Why should I be doing this? Well, you're kind of demonstrating that they're important.
Yes.
I mean, you still have to say, this is your responsibility. That's your responsibility.
Right. Yeah. It's super important.
And there's a place where you have a conversation, but there's also a place where you say, okay, Lord, here's where I think what happens in our society today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're so weak.
Yep.
You're not dealing. He needs to be told
Right.
what to do. And so, story time.
Here we go.
So we had, and I might have mentioned this before, but
Mm-hmm.
we had just been new Christians, and we were learning about submission.
Okay.
Did I talk about this?
I don't think so.
So we were talking about submission and how a woman should submit to her husband.
As it should be.
And if you guys know Joyce, it's like that didn't go over well.
Okay.
And she was learning it in her women's Bible study,
Mm-hmm.
and the world's definition of that is thumb down.
Right.
But God's word is like, no, I'm going to submit to my husband. Oh, wait a minute, my husband's supposed to submit to me too. There's a joint relationship. There's no one more powerful than the other. So anyway, but I had the wrong definition, of course.
I'm above you. Period.
So I was laying on the couch, and we had like two little kids. They're crawling all over the place.
Yep.
And I'm like, hey, can you go get me a cup of coffee? Well, she was sitting there while I was laying there. And she goes, what?
Excuse me?
And I'm like, could you get me a cup of coffee? I'm tired.
Uh-huh.
Because, she sat at home all day long and just watched the kids. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that doesn't require anything.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say that.
No.
And I'm like, and she's looking at me. I'm like, what's with your lesson on submission? Obviously, you don't know how to. You're not doing well.
Oh boy!
And so, anytime you want to get to Joyce, you just challenge her, man.
Challenge her.
Like,
she'll be like, "Oh yeah."
And I think she was burning up, and I think there was a couple F-bombs in her head, but they never came out.
Well, that's good.
She doesn't swear,
Oh.
but so she got up and went and got it.
Oh, okay. That went differently than I
she
thought it would.
She talks about it now. In her soul, she was like, that's a bunch of crap. And then she goes, no, you know what? I'm going to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
She went and got me coffee, handed it to me. I felt like a piece of crap.
You're just like, nah,
And
I
in
don't
the
want
middle
it now.
of that, she felt really good because she was like, no, I'm going to honor you, and I'm going to let God deal with you.
Yeah, there you go.
And so there's something about serving other people because it's hard and because you love them. I mean, you don't love your roommate. I mean, you like him. He's your friend.
I hate him. I like him, yeah.
But yeah, he's a great guy. And it's like, well, I'm going to do this out of servitude. And then I'm going to, it really does bother me deep down, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let God deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since she did that, I mean, I never, well, I can't say never asked her for a cup of coffee. Now I'm like, I just go, and she's,
she's like,
do you want some coffee, Chris? Oh, thank you.
Funny you say that. I've been thinking about it all morning. Been waiting for you. No, well, that's good.
And that's a price too. But again, learning to say, I want to represent Christ, what Christ did for me. Christ died on the cross for my sins that he didn't commit, that he didn't do. And so it just shows up in different areas of our life.
That's like killing them with kindness. That's the epitome of killing them with kindness. That's like, especially if they are a Christian, that's the ultimate way to get a lesson across with somebody is when that conviction hits them. Because the moment that you serve them in that way, where they realize, oh, I should have done that, and then you finish the thing, they get back to, the house with the dishes all done, and they're like, that was supposed to be my day.
Yeah,
and conviction, God deals with it.
And they feel, they're like, oh. And then they feel like that was nice to him.
And there's no resentfulness in the end.
And you're like, Lord, I'm doing this for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously he's going to do, I mean, other people have other strengths, though, too.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to get to, about 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
If everybody brings their strengths, if
Mm-hmm.
I do dishes, because I love doing dishes. I worked with this guy that owned an adoption agency,
Mm-hmm.
and he would tell all his workers, a social worker, don't wash your cups, leave them in the sink. I want to wash them.
Oh.
He goes, it gives me peace at the end of the day.
There you go. Gladly.
There you go, buddy.
Here you go, dude. All you, man.
So wrap this up for us.
Well, if you want to deal with the little foxes in the vineyards or the cockroaches in the house, you gotta first deal with the problem in the house first. You gotta get the roaches out. You gotta shine the light on it. You gotta tell the truth. You gotta practice the little daily things, and then you gotta get the exterminator to create the defense around the brain, around the house, to make sure that the bugs don't get back in. And that's, regularly doing those things every single day.
And it calls death to self.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, I have to do something.
Yes, it's an action you have to take.
Yeah.
And sometimes if the bugs get back in the house, you got to take care of that problem quick.
Right.
There you go.
Well, that's it.
Thank you so much for listening.
Hey.
It was another great episode. We'll see you next
See
week.
you next week. Bye.
Peace.